As you can tell by the title of this video, our baby didn't make it. It's going to be hard, but I definitely want to tell my story to help somebody else. And this also will help me get through this process as well. On August the 28th, 2013, I gave birth to Nehemiah at 12:02 p.m. He was 3 pounds, 6 ounces, and 17.5 inches long. It all started that day before, which was a Tuesday. I had a doctor's appointment already scheduled for that day. I knew something wasn't right. That Monday before, I noticed he wasn't kicking, and I didn't feel a lot of movements as I had felt before. So I noticed something was different. I just didn't know what to say. So that Tuesday, which was August the 27th, that morning I had called my doctor and I let her know, hey, I'm not feeling a lot of movements. What should I do to help to feel the movements? And so they recommend that I should lie on my back and I should drink something sweet to help feel the movements. And I still didn't feel anything. And I was at work during this time, so I tried not to worry because I knew I had a doctor's appointment that day at 3 o'clock. So after I called, I drank juice. I really didn't feel a lot of movement. So I just kind of, didn't try not to worry about it because I knew I had that appointment at 3. So I went to my doctor's appointment. I had a NST, a non-stress test scheduled for that day. And so I walk in, I do my blood pressure and weight and all that stuff. And so they take me into the back room to do the non-stress test. 2 nurses had difficulty finding his heartbeat for the non-stress test. And so they, tried to search and search and search, and they still couldn't find a heartbeat. So they took me into the doctor's office room where they did an ultrasound, to see what's going on as to why the baby wasn't responding. And so at that point, they did confirm that his heart had stopped beating and he was no longer alive. I was 31 weeks. It was extremely hard. It didn't even feel real. I was like, is this real? Is this a dream? I was just numb. I was mute. I couldn't talk. It just didn't feel real. It didn't feel real. And I was by myself, so my husband was at work, and I just couldn't imagine, calling him, to let him know that the baby had died. I couldn't imagine. And so I was there for a little while before the nurses called my husband, and, he knew something wasn't right with the doctor's office calling him, and now he knew I was there for an appointment. So eventually he did come up to the office, and he sat down with me, and that's when they told him that the baby had died. And most likely it was linked to that cyst I told you guys about. The cyst, it must have grown to a large amount of size where it had cut off the baby's supply in the umbilical cord. So the cyst on the umbilical cord had to be the cause of the death. So that Tuesday, my appointment was around 2 o'clock. And so the doctor had said I can come back that night to labor and delivery to start the induction process. And so my husband and I, we just went home. I just slept and tried to get some rest. I just couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine going through that process. So that night around 9 o'clock, we went to the hospital. There, my family met me, and we went up to labor and delivery. So basically, as far as induction, I was given 2 options. The first option is where they put a pill, it's called Cytotec, and they can put that in your cervix every 2 hours until the induction process starts. So basically it softens your cervix for labor. The other option is where they can insert a balloon in your cervix, and that can manually dilate your cervix. So somehow they can put some kind of balloon and manually dilate your cervix. So I went with the first option, where they put the pill in, in your vagina every 2 hours, and that helps to dilate your cervix and start the induction process. So that process started about 10 o'clock Tuesday night. So every 2 hours they would come in and check me. Every 2 to 4 hours they would come in and check me to see how I was dilated. When I first got there, I was 1 centimeter. And so during the night they gave me a sleeping pill. I really didn't feel anything at all as far as pain or anything like that. I just felt a lot of tightening that I talked about in my early pregnancy vlogs. I was still feeling a ton of the tightening. And so I slept through the night. Well, I couldn't sleep through the night. My husband was knocked out on the couch. So they would come in and check me. And so in that morning, that Wednesday morning, which was August the 28th, about 7 o'clock, I think I was 2 centimeters dilated. And so total they put 3 pills in my cervix to soften it up and to dilate it. So around 11 o'clock a.m., I was 3 centimeters dilated. And so they said, hey, you don't need any more pills. It seemed like my body was responding to the medication, and it knew I needed to go into labor. So from about 11 to 12 o'clock noon, I started to feel the pains and the contractions. It really wasn't that bad, but mentally, I couldn't do it. Mentally, I was not there. I couldn't even imagine. As far as pain management, I did have the option of getting the IV medications or the epidural. They were really pressuring me to get an epidural. I guess they understood the emotional pain that I was going through. It was just I couldn't bear it. So towards the end, I did ask for a epidural, because it just kept pressuring me. But before the epidural could come, that's when I started to go into labor, and that's when the baby started to come. So I didn't even get a chance to get any type of pain medication because everything happened so fast, which was my initial birth plan. I wanted to do all natural. I didn't really want any interventions. And so during that hour of kind of pain, and I just kind of walked around a little bit and did a lot of deep breathing. So at 12:02, I delivered the baby. And it happened so fast because I went from 3 centimeters to 10 centimeters dilated all within an hour. So I really didn't have time to really process anything. I just felt a lot of pressure physically down there, and that's when I knew, okay, this is it. And so I had a midwife, and she delivered the baby. And again, they confirmed it. He didn't have a heartbeat. On his umbilical cord, it almost looked as if it was like a water balloon. The cyst had grown so big, and that was the definite cause of his death, was the cyst. There's no cause for it, which is frustrating. It's so rare. The doctors had never seen anything like it before. So that makes it even harder to process. Like, gosh, was it something that I did, or, how can we prevent this in the future? But there's no cause, or they don't know what happened, because I was being monitored every 4 weeks by ultrasound. So it had to have grown like super fast over that week or two for it to cut off his supply in the umbilical cord. So when I saw him, it was something as if it was like a water balloon attached to his umbilical cord. They did let me hold the baby. And I did name him Nehemiah Tyler Smith. And that was, Tyler is my husband's middle name. And I like the name Nehemiah. It means God's compassion, or God's comfort. And so I guess it was quite a fitting name. I didn't know this would happen. So I did hold him. They dressed him up in clothes. So we basically spent the whole day with him. We were able to keep him in our room if we wanted to. And so I did hold him a lot. We took some pictures with him, and he was pretty heavy. He was 3 pounds and 6 ounces and 17 inches long. He was a big baby for his size. He was 31 weeks old. Had a lot of hair. He was beautiful. And I'll attach some pictures and a video at the end if you want to see him. But my husband, it really hurt him. I could see. Because this was the last thing we thought would ever happen to us. My gosh. Can you imagine? And I was wondering, I made it so far at 31 weeks. Why didn't I miscarry? Like at 6 weeks or 7 weeks. Why did he have to make it so far? That's what I was wondering to myself, I guess. But I'm glad when I look back on it, everything, the birth happened as it did. I'm glad it was, a natural birth, and I was able to deliver him and hold him and see him. As far as, the options the hospital gave us, we were able to, the hospital has the option where they can take care of, they do a memorial service. So they would cremate the baby and have a memorial service. Or they gave us the option to give us the baby, and we can do, link with a local funeral home. So we chose to have the arrangements made by the hospital because, we can't afford a funeral. And I just couldn't imagine, planning something like that. I just wanted to leave it up to them. So they're going to cremate the baby. They're going to do a memorial service for us, along with other babies that were born stillbirth. And that is in October. And so I was in the hospital from that Tuesday to that Thursday. I had him on Wednesday at noon. So they shipped me over to postpartum section of the hospital. And there I just kind of rested and things like that. And I would do a separate video on the recovery process and what it's been like, and just that postpartum type stuff, dealing with a stillbirth and how it's different. And I'll do that in a separate video. And so I left the hospital on Thursday, which was the 29th. And so I'll link a video for all that. The hospital gave me a memory box. It was, it's filled with a lot of the clothes that the baby had on, and his last pamper. They also have like a wristband that he was wearing. They took pictures. They did footprints and handprints, and they put all that in a little box for us. So that was my stillbirth story. I really didn't know how to explain it. It's just been, tough. I'm okay physically. Just mentally, it's definitely going to be a long road. So, thank you guys so much for watching me through this journey. It's been tough. Definitely something I never thought would happen. But with faith, just believing in God that, everything happens for a reason, whatever that reason was. I don't know. But just wanted to share my story with you guys, and I really appreciate you guys following me.
We know you're in heaven. We know you're no longer in your body. You are looking down on us, cheering us on to meet you in heaven. We love you, son. We don't want to let you go. So we make this video to remember you.